Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Hello, I am Neha, and we would be going through something really interesting today. I hope everybody is as excited and pepped up about this as I am, because I know, you all of you who are here, especially sitting here now intently watching your screen, you've been waiting for the forms of CLAT to come out, right? So now that the forms are out, you need to be very, very carefully filling those forms, right? That's the reason why we have this session, because this session is there to guide you through how do you go about filling the form. I know, the initial plunge of wanting to do, the initial plunge when you decided that, fine, yes, I want to do CLAT, you started your preparation, you were bogged down by ifs and buts ki bhai karna chahiye nahi karna chahiye and all that, but now finally all that is settled and you've decided that yes, I want to do CLAT. You've been preparing for it, and now is the time when the forms are out and you need to fill them up, right? So you've got to be very, very careful when you fill your form. This is a process which has to be done with a lot of peace in your mind. Do not try to do this entire process by jumping in about and by thinking that, okay, finally the form is here, let me just fill it right away as fast as I can and be the fastest finger and be the first one to fill the form. Don't do it in that respect. That's not how you're going to get the admission, right? Your admissions are not at all, of course, everybody knows, dependent on ki sabse pehla form kiska submit hoga. That is not how it is going to be. But yes, you have to be very, very careful कि भाई मेरा form किसी technicality की वजह से कहीं reject ना हो जाए. मैंने इस criteria में भरना था पर मैंने वो criteria भर दिया, right? So you have to be very, very careful when you are starting this entire process of filling the form, right? And don't worry, there is a lot of time which you guys have for going ahead and filling the form. Okay, so there is a lot of time which all of you have right now. So the notification came on 15th of July. The applications opened on 8th of August. Abhi 10 days ho chuke hain already since the time the applications have come out. So I'm hoping that all of you have visited the website. Website is your Bible, right? कोई भी doubt होता है, इससे पहले आप किसी से पूछो. Before you ask anybody, whether it's your faculty, your teacher, your parents, or your Google Devta. I know for everything nowadays we go to Google Devta. Before you go in for any of those options, always and always, first and foremost, you go on to the Consortium website, right? Always remember, Consortium website is something which should be your first go-to, right? पहले वहां पे जाके अपना डाउट क्लियर करो, फिर नेक्स्ट स्टेप होगा कि वहां पे जब आपने पढ़ा that okay, this is how it is supposed to be done, whatever your doubt was, but thereafter also you are still not convinced, you are still not clear, then you ask for help, right? Then you ask for help from your mentors or whoever is helping in your preparation, or you can look at the other resources available. But first and foremost thing, जब आप CLAT का फॉर्म भरने का सोच रहे हो, the first thing you do is you go and check the Consortium website, right? I'm hoping by now all of you must have visited the website so many times कि अब जैसे ही अपने NL टाइप करते हो ऊपर तो वो straight away the internet tells you NLU consortium of NLUs, right? So that is how often you should have seen it by now, right? So, and like I was saying, you don't have to be the first one to submit the form. The forms applications have been open since 8th of August, and the last day to apply is 13th of November. Now, don't take my advice the other way around and say, "Acha, 13th hai." So I know students would be thinking, "Ab 10th hogi, 11th hogi, 13th hogi, chalo finally send karte hain." Right? So we don't want to be two extremes. We don't want to be the first ones that in a hurry we make a mistake. Neither do we want to be the last ones क्या पता ना लास्ट में करेंगे और लास्ट में करते करते भाई फिर तो गलती होने की एंड you making some mistake while filling the form is going to happen. So you don't want either of the two extremes, right? You want कि अभी form खुल गया है, right now applications are open, so this is the correct time you start looking at the application. Okay, now the exam date is 18th of December 2022. So all those people who have finished already, cleared their boards, or are appearing in the boards next year, March, that is March 23, both set of people are eligible for the Clat 22, right? The exam which is going to happen in December 22, right? So I'm sure this is something appearing and who have already passed. Whether you've passed out or you have appeared, both the categories eligible to give the CLAT in December 22. And, some of you have been having this doubt or, I've heard some of my students and some people in these workshops and seminars कि भाई December में नहीं हुआ तो हम May वाला CLAT दे देंगे. There is only going to be one CLAT. I'm like last year November में ये notification आ गया था कि भाई December में CLAT होगा for 2023. And they have been very clear that the CLAT is being preponed. That means May में CLAT नहीं होगा. May में NLU Delhi होगा. Till now, that is what has been told to us. And May में बाकी सारे exams होंगे, बाकी और NLUs के exams होंगे. But so far as CLAT is concerned, CLAT is going to happen only once because the May CLAT has been preponed to December. It is not that you're going to have two exams for the batch starting in July 23. Okay, so don't take it कि ये पहला attempt होगा और May में दूसरा attempt होगा. Okay, I want this to be clear in everybody's head. ठीक है ना? Don't be fooled by the fact that it is happening in December. It will happen in May again. Right? So those are the dates which you keep in mind. अच्छा, इस बार एक special चीज करी है Consortium ने, which has been, which I feel is very good for the students since the paper pattern changed in 2020. There are not very many real time questions that we have on the changed pattern, right? So the Consortium have been kind enough to say that they would be releasing 3 sample question papers. Right, so there'll be 3 sample question papers which will be released. So as and when you fill your form up, you will have access to those sample question papers, right? Once you have applied for the examination, you will have access to these 3 sample question papers. They have said that they will be releasing one in the month of September. So next year you will get 1 paper and 2 sample papers you will get in October. So this is something very interesting. This has never happened before. So this is good because, a lot of people, 2020 pattern changed. 2020 was a different paper. 21 was very different from 22 in certain, from 21, the paper in 2020. And then in 22, it was similar to 21, but still, there were certain changes. There were certain things which were different. So in order to, allay your fears, in order to ensure कि आप लोग सब घबराएं ना, Consortium has been kind and, they are giving you 3 sample papers. So keep this in mind. Make a note of this because कई बार क्या होता है form भर दिया फिर भूल गए. But form भर दिया फिर भी हमें Consortium की website check करनी है just to ensure that we do not miss on these sample papers. Okay. And another very interesting thing which they have done is that all the registered candidates, they are allowed to visit the campus. Because of COVID, as it is, जो enrolled थे वो भी नहीं जा पा रहे थे. And, to think that anybody else could go to those campuses even before they get admission was a little difficult to imagine. Though I would tell students, कि एक बार campus में जाके देखना चाहिए. But you are a little apprehensive कि maybe gate से ही भगा देंगे. Maybe they won't let us enter. So why do I take that chance? But now, the Consortium itself has given dates कि भाई September में और October में, 2 dates, September and October, they'll give dates. Of September, they have said 22nd of September. That's the date when you can actually go and visit the campus. Okay, so you can go to the campus and check that whether your, your dream Because sometimes, what happens is you've been thinking, you have this image in your head about the college that you want to go to. Is it really living up to that image? What is it? In the entire hullabaloo about national law universities, is it really so? Right? So, एक आपके पास opportunity है to check that before you take the plunge. Right? Of course, this is just to ensure that people are really pepped up and people are really, the excitement is on for those universities, right? So these are certain interesting facts which you keep in mind when you are thinking about your application. Okay. Now let's move on to the fact that what is the basic eligibility criteria when you are looking at CLAT, right? These are very, very important points which you need to know. Okay. Generally, these are common things which everybody has in mind, has a knowledge of, but we will just tick the boxes once to ensure that if somebody had any doubt, you do not have that doubt creeping in at any moment, right? So first and the foremost thing, there is no upper age limit so far as CLAT is concerned. Some years back, there used to be an upper age limit of 19 years for admission in CLAT, through CLAT for all the national law universities. That has been erased. Now, there is no upper age limit. So you could be somebody, sometimes who've done maybe who, because of COVID especially, you might have lost a year or 2 years or whatever your reason might have been. There is no upper limit so far as the age is concerned. So you might be 20, you might be 22, you might be 17, you might be of any age. There is no criteria. Next is the marks, right? Like all of you know that so far as the subject is concerned, it does not matter whether you are a science, humanities, commerce, whichever stream you might have been in, you can apply for the CLAT paper. But the only criteria is all you need is a humble 45%, right? It's a very humble percentage. Itna to hum generally expect karte hain ki ho hi jayega, right? So the criteria is not very high. It's only 45%. And in fact, when you're filling the form, you would be, when you are filling your fact that you're appearing in 12th or you've given your 12th exam, there would be a column where you would be filling in your subject stream that you have taken in class 12th. In fact, इस बार के form में एक चीज अजीब सी आई है that they have given science, commerce, and they're given arts and humanities. So they've created 4 criteria. So some of you might have seen it and might have got confused ki what is arts and what is humanities. You don't have to be confused in that. There is no difference as such. Either you can choose arts or humanities, either ways. The difference is very technical, and I don't think so the consortium is going to be really be taking note of that much. Okay, so whether you take arts or humanities, the way it is called in your school, maybe that's the criteria you can take. So there is no need to worry on that front. Okay. Next is the percentage is 40% so far as if you're a candidate belonging to SC/ST, right? For everybody else, even for OBC, generally we think that only for general it is 45%. The relaxation in your 12% is only for candidates belonging to SC and ST. So if you are general category, of course, it is going to be 45%. But if you are from any other category also, whether it is OBC, PWD is, any idea what is PWD? PWD is with, when you're talking about person with disabilities, right? So any kind of physical disability, OBC, NRI, PIO, OCI, all these categories, the marks percentage remains the same. Okay, so that is something which is going to remain the same. Now, next is whoever is eligible, whoever is sitting for the 12th exam in March, April 23, they are also they can obviously sit for the CLAT exam in December. And, the evidence or proof that they have passed their qualifying exam, that is their 12th boards, that has to be given only when you are finally going for admission, right? Once you've cleared your CLAT, once you know the college has been allotted to you. So at the final allotment time, that is the time when you would be taking the evidence or the real proof that you have actually cleared your 12th, right? तो अभी don't start thinking कि अभी तो appearing है तो मुझे क्या proof देना पड़ेगा, अभी कोई proof देने का जरूरत नहीं है, ठीक है? So you don't have to worry on that. Good. Now next, the last one is that, okay, somebody who's already finished class 12, they would be giving their proof of course, but otherwise appearing card, that is not needed. Okay, so that's the general thing which you keep in mind. Now next is, what are the documents? Agar aapne ye general criteria you are aware of, that this is the general criteria that you are looking at, the basic idea you have, then the next thing which you need to be clear is, what are the documents which you need? Now, generally, suggestion would be that before you start filling the forms, ensure that all these important documents are there with you, right? And very, very important part, that all these need to be submitted in the PDF format only, right? So you cannot upload a Word document or any other format. It has to be in a PDF format, right? So the first and the foremost thing you do, even before you actually start filling your form, is ensure that you have all these documents with you, and turn them into a PDF format. अगर आपके पास hard copy है, उस hard copy को PDF format में convert करके अपने पास रखना है. That is something which is very, very crucial. It shouldn't be कि form भरने लगे तब याद आया, oh, this particular document I don't have, and then you will be again stopping the process in the middle and looking for that document, right? You don't want that. So the first thing you do is create a folder. अपना एक folder बनाओ, laptop पे, phone पे, wherever you're comfortable, wherein you put all the documents which are needed for the form, right? So let's just have a quick look at what are the documents needed. You would need a passport size photograph, front facing, with a plain background, right? No fancy backdrops, only a plain background is what you need. You need the signature of the candidate, your signature. So it's not your parent's signature or anything, it's going to be your signature, which you need to click a picture of, and you need it to be in the PDF format. Now, the next is your category certificate. If you are applying under any of these categories, you have to have the category certificate at the time when you're filling the form. You have to be very clear on that. It cannot be uploaded later. You cannot submit your category certificate later. The only category certificate which can be submitted later is your EWS category certificate. Now, the EWS category certificate is issued every year. Because it is issued every year, depending on your income which has been in that financial year, that is the reason that certificate is not needed here, right? So if you are thinking that I want to fill in the form via the EWS category, then remember that certificate will have to be submitted later. वो अभी जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगा. In fact, just ensure that if you are planning to file that certificate, that this financial year in which you are applying, in that financial year, your guardians, they need to fall in that EWS category. ऐसा नहीं हो कि वो last year थे और इस साल there is some boon and you're not falling in that category, right? Because of financial year to financial year आपको EWS certificate मिलेगा. तो March 23 में आपको जो EWS certificate मिलेगा, that is what you are going to use for your as your category certificate. Apart from the EWS, बाकी सारे certificate जो होंगे, बाकी सारे जो certificate होंगे, those will have to be submitted now. Okay, so you have the SC, ST, OBC certificates, and OBC, of course, it has to be the non-creamy layer certificate. Okay, if you have the creamy layer certificate, then the reservation will not be there, of course, right? Then you have your PWD, BPL, all these certificates would also have to be uploaded at the time when you are filling your form. So in sub certificates का जिस भी category में आप apply करना चाहते हो, take a picture, put it in a PDF format and store it at one place. Okay, so all this together. Now the original certificates or जो original होगा उस document का जिसका आपने PDF बनाया होगा, that will have to be given to the university. So whenever finally, if by the grace of God and more so by the hard work that you put in, okay, if you actually get, when you actually go to the college which has been allotted to you, I'm hoping that all of you who are listening actually go to one of these NLUs. एक बार जब आप NLU में जाओगे, वहां पे एडमिशन के टाइम यू विल नीड टू कैरी द ओरिजिनल्स, ठीक है? सो बी वेरी केयरफुल, जो आपने अपलोड किया है उसका ओरिजिनल आप संभाल के रखो, okay? The next thing to be noted is that the photograph and signature of the candidate need not be attested. तो जब आप photograph upload कर रहे हो, वो attested जरूरी नहीं है, right? The photograph and that attested means it doesn't need to be signed or it doesn't need to be stamped by some authority claiming कि भाई ये आप ही का है. ना self attestation, ना किसी और का attestation is not really necessary, okay? Chalo, I'm hoping that this is clear. Okay, let's move on now. Now, the next thing to see is, अब ये आपने basics अपने सारे ready कर लिए हैं. You know, all your documents are ready. You have a basic idea as to what all documents you need to keep. You have an idea as to what are the basic eligibility criteria. So now let's see, and now we open the website. Right now you go to the consortium website, wherein you would be creating your, you will be creating an account. So you will go here, you will register, right? Once you register, your registration, once you click on register, you will have this window which opens, which says register for CLAT 2023. You write your name, write your mobile number, right? And this mobile number has to be genuine because there will be an OTP which will be sent to you. Email ID, put an email which you actually use, okay? Put an email which you use, put an email which you know that you would be checking time and again, right? So अपना ये email अपना carefully इसीलिए यहाँ पे लिखना है. ऐसा नहीं है कि आप कोई भी email डाल दो. ऐसा email जो आपके फोन पे जनरली रहता है, आप उसको चेक करते हो. Your passwords, okay? And of course you set your password and keep this this register करके जो आप अपना password डाल रहे हो, जो अपना when you're creating your registering and you're creating this entire ID for the form filling, write it somewhere. Okay, ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि भाई अब यहाँ पे पासवर्ड डाला फिर भूल गए, फिर आप दोबारा से recreate कर रहे होगे, right? So don't get that. I know you're not supposed to write your IDs and passwords anywhere, generally not safe, but here this is one exception you can make that it is actually safe, right? So I would recommend कि ये जो आप अपना create करोगे उसको go ahead and save it somewhere, right? Now once you have created it, then this page comes wherein you have to select which course you are applying for, because CLAT, as I'm hoping all of you know, are there for two kind of admissions. One is for the 5 years undergraduate course, where you're doing the 5 years LLB course along with your graduation, and the other is the post-graduation LLM, right? So you have CLAT UG and CLAT PG. CLAT PG is for post-graduation, which means after you finish your law, if you want to do a master's in law, which is known as an LLM, then you would select CLAT PG. Otherwise, you are going to select CLAT UG. All of you here today, I know, are going to select. I'm hoping majority are going to select CLAT UG, right? If anybody here is thinking about CLAT PG, that's not really the form we are filling today, okay? Okay, next is when you look at the next page, that's your personal information. So here you will have to upload your photograph. Photograph आपने already PDF format में save करके रखा है, तो फटाफट यहाँ पे आपका photograph जो है upload हो जाएगा. Now things to be kept in mind when you are selecting this, your name, okay, you did your date of birth, mother's name, all these star criteria are something which is going to be compulsory, of course. Then you come to this part where it says NRI reservation category. So if you want to take the benefit of NRI reservation, then this is where you need to fill it in the form. later on you cannot ask for it NRI reservation. ऐसा नहीं हो सकता आपने फॉर्म में नहीं भरा था, you never fill it in the form and later on after you have your CLAT results and all are out that you start thinking that okay, I want to take the benefit of the NRI reservation. No, that does not happen. You need to take the NRI reservation abhi. Okay, this is the right time. Abhi aapka jab form submit karo, that is the time when you want to fill it. That is why, take stock of all the categories or things that you can take benefit of. Okay, तो अभी जब आप फॉर्म भर रहे हो, एक बार अपने पेरेंट्स के साथ बैठ के, have this clear chat that dad general is one, whether I fall in any of the other, mom whether I fall in any of the category. Like mom and dad के साथ बैठ के ये अपना थोड़ा सा clarity लेके आना बहुत जरूरी है. Later on you cannot take advantage of any of these categories. ठीक है? तो this is necessary. Now NRI reservation category means that you have to be an NRI. Okay, so ये NRI reservation has to be that you are a non-resident Indian. Okay, it is different from NRI sponsored. NRI sponsored means that you yourself are not an NRI. कि आप जो candidate है, अगर मैं apply कर रही हूँ, मेरा NRI होना नहीं important है. Rather, it has to be that somebody is sponsoring my education. So for NRI sponsored, generally it has to be some sort of a relative of yours, जो कि खुद एक NRI है, and who agrees to sponsor your education for the next 5 years. Okay. Now NRI sponsored category ke liye, you have to be careful that the fees is going to be many times of what you will be paying as a normal person, like general या OBC या किसी और category में जितनी आपकी fees होगी, NRI sponsored fees is going to be much higher. Right? So you have to very carefully look at all the brochures of the universities कि उसमें fees का जो structure है वो एक बार अच्छे से check करना. Don't start the moment you start look at this category, you start thinking, oh wow, मेरे तो चाचा ताया मामा somebody is staying abroad and I can get it sponsored from there. No, it's not so simple. But yes, if you feel that money is not an issue for you, money is something which will not be a difficulty, and you have somebody who can sponsor you, then you are in luck. You can get admission into the NRI sponsored category. And again, this has to be filled right now when you're filling the form. Later on, you cannot fill in this category. ठीक है? तो ये बाद में नहीं होगा, ये अभी ही आपको fill करना पड़ेगा. This is not something which you can do at a later stage. Always just remember this. And in fact, you can apply for both. There are some people who I have come across who have asked me that I am an NRI, like my kid is staying with me abroad, and so can I apply in both the categories? Yes, you can actually apply in both the categories. You can apply in NRI, you can apply in NRI sponsored also. Now, the only thing is that when you are applying, you will have to submit all the documents and everything which are there. Okay, so here again, apart from this, you have your SC, ST, OBC. You have to submit a copy of your certificate that is going to be there. If you're a person with disability, again, there has to be a certificate to that effect also. अब यहाँ पे gender आ गया, gender में भी आप डालोगे अपना जो भी gender आपने डालना है, and ये important हो जाता है, ये वैसे obviously compulsory है, but this comes into play again when you are looking at the entire matrix of seats. The consortium website provides you with the entire matrix of the seats, जहाँ पे आपका general का seats अलग है. You have your various reservations. There are some reservations which are national category, all India reservations होती हैं, कुछ आपकी state वाली reservations भी होती हैं, and then you have your reservation which are beyond this. You might have reservation on the basis of PWD, you might have reservation on your gender. There are seats which are there for women also, which have been reserved. Okay. Generally, women wari reservation is like a horizontal reservation, which is similar in the case of a PWD and at times even in case of the EWS. The reservation is horizontal. Okay. Now, horizontal reservation kya hota hai? That, whatever is let's say if it says 10% horizontal reservation for women. Now this 10% or horizontal reservation for women would mean in each and every category. That means when we're talking about general category, there'll be 10% reservation for women there. If there is an SC, ST, OBC category, there'll be 10% reservation in each and every category. Okay, so remember that when you are looking at horizontal is going to be separate reservation in each and every category. Okay, so I would recommend that you go through the entire seat matrix to understand. अगर मैं अपना category certificate दे रहा हूँ, ये वाला दूँ या वो वाला दूँ, if you have more than one, then which would benefit you more? And always remember, every university, every national law university has its own criteria for reservation, right? Because these are state universities. You know, even though we call them national law universities, but the word national doesn't mean that they are a central university. They are not central. All of them are state universities, which means अगर आप NLU जोधपुर जाते हैं, तो अगर आप देखोगे तो NLU जोधपुर में reservation नहीं है. Right, state reservation nahi hai, all India reservation hi hai, state domicile based reservation is not there, right? So you have to check as you know that each and every state will have different criteria, different amount of reservation which it gives, right? So keep that in mind. Please check that. It's that matrix is given very beautifully in the consortium website. You should go and check that, right? Okay, फिर ये आपका basic information आ गया. आपने यहाँ पे अपना nationality भी भर दिया. Hopefully it is going to be Indian. Most of you who are watching. Now those of you who are you know, thinking nationality और क्या है, others भी हो सकता है, because now this is important, because if you are a foreign national, then the procedure would be slightly different, because foreign national, it is not essential for you to write the CLAT exam. So if you are applying as a foreign national, not as an NRI, right? NRI की हम बात नहीं कर रहे हैं. अगर आप foreign national की तरह apply करते हो, then your admission criteria would be different. But अगर आप NRI sponsored or Indian national जैसे apply करते हो, then CLAT is something which is compulsory. Okay, so don't think that if I am applying as an NRI or if I am applying as NRI sponsored, I do not have to sit for CLAT. You have to sit for CLAT. It's just that when the merit finally comes out, right, in that you would be put in a certain category. You would be given your all India general rank, and you would also be given your category specific ranks. In fact, जब result आता है तो जो अब आपको finally ranks मिलते हैं, those ranks are on two categories: your all India and then your category specific rank. Okay, so that's how you will decide then which college you go to. Okay, so now let's move on. Once this your personal information is filled, the next are your communication details. This is your address. So it has to have your PIN code, permanent address, all these things, right? So this is generally, be careful when you're writing the address. Okay, don't write the wrong address. Acha, ek cheez important. Don't think that I have to fill the form in one go. There is this save as draft which is given here, right? So save as draft would mean that at any stage, you feel कि भाई आज मेरा इंटरनेट स्लो चल रहा है, you feel कि भाई आज मेरे पास इतना ही टाइम है, or you know anything like that, save as draft करके you can continue filling your form at another time also, right? So it's not necessary that you sit in one go and you fill the entire form. Sometimes tension हो जाती है, stress हो जाता है, and you're not able to do it, or maybe something just comes up. Remember, हर एक पेज के बाद ना एक तो ये सेव एज ड्राफ्ट की आदत ही डाल लो कि एक पेज मेरा कंप्लीट हो गया, बिफोर आई गो ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट पेज पहले मैं उसको सेव एज ड्राफ्ट करूंगी, right? Because otherwise what happens is sometimes something happens, even though you have a backup, UPS backup with your modem, but something happens to your internet or the light goes or whatever. You don't want कि इतना फॉर्म भरा है और फिर दोबारा रीडू करना पड़ेगा, right? We don't want that. So save as draft is something, just make it a habit to do, right? Be very, very careful when you're filling the mobile number. Okay, because all the notifications will be sent to this mobile number. So this mobile number should be the kinds जो आप regularly check करते हो, right? So be very, very careful about filling this particular mobile number also. ठीक, बाकी सब regular है, आपको अपना address डालना है and all that, all those things. Okay, now let's move on. What is the next thing that you need to be careful about? Okay, now comes the qualifying examination details. Now here, Like I said, if you are appearing for your 12th boards, again, there is, that is something which you can do, right? So here you have qualifying exam is basically your 10 plus 12, or, or it says similar qualifying. So you have to select which qualifying exam you fit in, right? Appearing or appeared, apna isme daloge, year of passing, all those things, board, university, month of passing, and things like that. Percentage आप तभी लिखोगे जब आपने यहाँ पे appeared डाला है, right? तो अगर past या appeared होगा, then the percentage thing you'll have to fill. अगर यहाँ पे appearing है, obviously you don't really have to fill the percentage then. Okay, that's fairly simple. But just be careful when you're writing these things, And again, when you before you turn your page, you always save as draft. Okay. Then you comes to the test center preference. Now test center preference 1, 2, 3. Each and every place which you feel will be easiest for you to go to, you give your preference. अब ये preference जो है total number of application के ऊपर depend करता है कि भाई कितनों को क्या मिलता है. So generally your preference 1, 2, 3 आप उसी हिसाब से डालना which is most convenient for you, right? So if you're putting Delhi, you put Delhi. अगर लगता है कि दूसरा डालना है, so you put the next city. So whichever as per your convenience, whatever is your priority 1, priority 2, priority 3 करके ये specifically आप इसको fill करोगे. Fairly simple. Again, save as draft. Okay. Next is reservation. Now this reservation has to be selected individually for each and every NLU. Because like we were discussing earlier, हर NLU का reservation criteria different है, right? So if you want to apply for a particular university, which category, which criteria are you filing under? Okay, that is important. So here, like you're saying, let's say यहाँ पे NLSIU Bangalore लिखा है, right? So are you a student of Karnataka, right? So that means they are checking whether you've done your 12th from there, your domicile and all those things you have to check. Be very, very careful. Go to each and every NLU's brochure. Online available है आपके पास. Brochure आप जाके check करो Clat Consortium में and see what is the criteria there. Because, every NLU will have a different criteria so far as, putting you in a category also. Like if you look at Nalsar, Hyderabad, it is talking about whether you are a resident student of Telangana. Now, what does it mean? What do you mean by that? Does it mean you have to do your 12th from there? Does it mean that you have to stay in Telangana for a next number of years? That criteria is going to be different for different NLUs. Okay, so just be careful as to what you are filling. ठीक है ना? तो यहाँ पे it is essential that you actually go through the brochure of each and every NLU very, 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 very carefully. That's something which is very important. Okay. Now, next is submitting. Now, एक बार आपने पूरा अपना form भर लिया है, ensure that you are actually, when you submit, the submission should be done only when you are very, very sure that सब कुछ सही है. That is why that save as draft is very crucial, because whenever you are saving, just check once. एक बार आपने पूरा form भर लिया है, then just go through it once, that whether all the details are correct or not. जो आपने PDF document भेजा है, वो clear है, right? So once you are satisfied, only then you will press the agree, because there will be a declaration where you are agreeing to, applying for the Clat exam, right? So you give your agreement, that's your agreeing declaration. Then it's talking about select the third party communications and give your consent to that also, right? So third party communication details is going to be there. So all that, and then you submit the form. Another thing to be noted when you are submitting your form is that once you submit, then thereafter is your make payment. Okay, ये last page होगा आपका, जहाँ पे आपको submit करने का जब time आएगा. You have your application name, application number, program. Now you submit by payment, by paying the fees. Once you make the payment of the fees, that is when your application is finally submitted. ठीक है, अभी तक जो है आपका सेव एज ड्राफ्ट ही चल रहा होगा, अभी तक आपका एप्लीकेशन जो है सबमिट नहीं किया होगा. Your payment has to be made, only then finally your application is going to be, your application process is going to be complete. Okay, till the time you do not make the payment, your application process is not going to be complete. So you be careful. And यहाँ तक आपके पास इनफैक्ट लास्ट स्टेज में आके ऑप्शन है एडिट करने का अपना एप्लीकेशन फॉर्म. Right, so you can check, and if you feel that there is something that you want to edit, maybe you have had a conversation with your parents और आपको लग रहा है आपको इस कैटेगरी नहीं इस कैटेगरी में जाना है, या कोई भी अगर आपको change लगता है, you want to do to your form, you have the opportunity of doing it right here. You can do the edit application form, and the last is the delete application. Of course, अगर आपको finally, for some reason something happens in your brain, or you feel that you've made some huge mistake in your form, whatever, you always have the delete application option also. Remember, till the time आप payment नहीं make करोगे, आपकी application submit नहीं हुई है, right? तो ये payment pending अगर आ रहा है, that means your application has not been submitted. Remember this. कई बार होता है कि अच्छा मैंने तो सब कुछ भर दिया, so my application is done. No. Till the time you don't make the payment, the application is not done. Okay, that's something which is very, very crucial. Now, that was the basic idea. Now, remember, this is when you are looking at payment of the fees. What is the fees here? Fees here for general OBC is 4,000, SC/ST 3,500, and if you want to purchase, you can pay 500 and purchase the past year papers. This is something which is optional, obviously. This is not something which is compulsory. So if you don't want to purchase, you may not opt for this, but it's a good idea always to purchase the past year papers. Another thing is that once you've submitted, let's say you've submitted, और submit करने के बाद आपको लग रहा है कि आपने कुछ गलती कर दी है या आपको कुछ change करना है. Can you resubmit the form? Can you edit the form? No, you cannot edit the form. Once you make the payment, your form is submitted and you cannot make any change to that form. The only thing you can do is you can submit the form again, which would mean that you would be paying this application fees yet again. Right? So it is not as though you cannot file multiple applications. You can file multiple applications, but in filing multiple applications, every time you will have to pay the application fees afresh. ठीक है, तो वो दोबारा से आपको एप्लीकेशन फीस पे करना पड़ेगा. आप अपनी पुरानी एप्लीकेशन को एडिट नहीं कर सकते हो. एंड द कंसोर्शियम हैज सेड कि जो भी आपका लास्ट एप्लीकेशन होगा, whichever is your last application, that is going to be considered by the consortium. So if you filled an application in August and आपने फिर एक सितंबर में फाइल फिल करा और एक आपने 3rd अक्टूबर में फिल करा, तो जो वो अक्टूबर वाला है, जो आपका लास्ट एप्लीकेशन है, that is what is going to be taken by the consortium. Okay, so though you might start feeling अच्छा मैं multiple कर सकता हूँ, but boss, there is a lot of money also involved, so I don't think so it's a very good idea. That is why you have that save as draft option. तो वो save as draft आपको generally help करेगा कि you don't apply in a hurry. So take your time and then you complete your application process. ठीक? Of course, you'll have to make the payment of online, debit card, credit card, UPI, handle, whichever way you want to make it, you can always make those payments as well. That's how you make the payments, right? तो जब आप फॉर्म भरने बैठे हो, जब फाइनली आपने सोचा है कि मेरा आज लास्ट है, आज तो मैं सबमिट करूंगा, right? तो then ये अपना mode of payment, whichever you want to use, have it right besides you. ठीक है? So, after deleting, can I fill the form again from starting? Yes, it has to be. So new application, yes, it will be with the same number and same email. Yes, you can refile it again, because all your other details would also be there. So those things will remain constant. Okay, so you can have multiple filings of your application as well. Okay, chalo. Then I am hoping I have cleared everybody's basic doubts. And because, these things are something you need to keep in mind when you are filling the forms. I understand that all of you have must have gone through the website, but there are a lot of these little details, little confusions which everybody has. Through the chat box also, we were trying to clear everybody's doubt. Okay, so if there is anybody has any doubt pending still, you can always put it in the chat box and I can take it up. Okay. Even if you are an open school student, the percentage remains the same. Okay, so that is why it says 10+2 or any qualifying exam, the percentage remains the same. Okay, but you have to be sure that certain LNUs don't recognize. Yes, chalo then. I'm hoping everybody's doubt is cleared. If there is something else that you have a doubt on, these are our the social media platforms where we are available. You can, get in touch with us. You can go, we have this website, clatpossible.com. You can visit the website, or you can contact us on any of these social media platforms. We can help you out with any other queries or questions you have. Okay, and you can get in touch with any of our centers. We do have a lot of centers across the country, so wherever you are located, sometimes it happens that through this online medium you might feel that some of your doubts have not been clarified. I would recommend that then come down to any of our centers and we can clear your doubts properly. Okay, so otherwise I know there was a lot happening on the chat box. So, some of you who might watch this video later can actually go through the chat and it might just be enlightening and clarifying some of your doubts. Okay. So, thank you, everybody. And I would recommend that you visit the consortium website. Start, if you were thinking, I don't want to fill the form so quickly, but at least start the process. I have given you basic information. Here and after, you should try and do it firsthand, right? You do it firsthand, you see if you're getting stuck anywhere, you can always come and ask. Okay, so that's really important that you start the process. You should not, procrastinate. I'll do it later. That's not something which is very, very advisable, right? Since they're only just under 3 months left now. So it's high time, it should be like form is done. At least that burden is off your shoulders. The only thing left then would be preparation. You don't want that in the last days, you keep procrastinating, you keep thinking, okay, I'll fill the form tomorrow or things like that. And the last day you realize that, oh, I haven't filled the form till now. And then you do not want to make silly mistakes while filling the form, right? So it's a good idea that you start your process right now. Take your parents into confidence, discuss with them, and then you can come up with your game plan and finish filling of your forms. Okay. And like I said, any help you need, we are there available to help you anytime. Okay. Thank you so much. And take care, everybody. Okay. Bye-bye.